We're here in the Santa Cruz Mountains at the Lotus Fields Meditation Center with the renowned guru Ubud Adha. He's the author of a best-selling book, All That, and has a very popular audio CD series entitled Spiritual De-Enthronement. Welcome and thank you for having us here today. There are many questions that many people have for one such as yourself, and I just thought we would start today by asking if you'd be willing to tell us about your earliest spiritual or religious memory.
I will do that. The first clear spiritual experience as such that I can recall is was probably around 19, and my friend and I had ingested some psychedelic mushrooms, some psilocybin mushrooms. And I remember that I was sitting kind of sideways, a little bit like this, and I had a mattress balanced on top of my head and backwards behind me. And I was looking up like this, and I remember the sensation of feeling that my physical self had lost all its sensation to me, and I was aware that I was in a body, but at the same time I was aware of an essence inside myself that made it completely possible to feel myself as if I had no body.
I know you were describing that sort of early spiritual experience. I think many of us are curious to know, is there something that you would consider the enlightenment experience, perhaps something that came later? Is there one sort of big opening that you experienced?
Yes, there definitely is. This took place in the early 1990s. I was in India at the time. After the advice of my teacher, I had been meditating in different caves. And at this point in time, I was 120 days into a silent retreat inside this cave. And I had a moment as I was sitting there. Remember, this was a practice which required me to completely withdraw my contact with the outer world. I had achieved the point of internal encapsulation that enabled me to be completely untouched by what we call the objects as they are coming through the six sense doors. I had completely closed off my connection to the world, and I was deepening inside. And I reached a point where I felt like I was connected to all things, between heaven and hell, suspended. And immediately, my posture reflected this equipoise, this balance, completely. There was no effort. I was held by the universe.
When was the last time you had sex?
I knew you would ask that. Complete celibate here at the Lotus Fields Meditation Center. Complete celibacy.
This comes in from Mrs. Margaret McGillicuddy in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She's wondering, people on the spiritual path often avoid unpleasant truths by using fine-sounding rhetoric. How do you help students avoid this kind of spiritual bypass?
It's interesting that you should mention that. It makes me think of a young man 3 weeks ago in Santa Fe. I did a talk to a small group of about 300 people, and this one man came up to me, and it was particularly this problematic that I needed to speak to. it was as if he was lost completely in his own concepts. I had to make it clear to him that the concepts that you have in your head is not the reality itself. And of course, it took him a while to understand that, because he was so identified with his own thoughts. And I think this is one of the really important things that I needed to talk to you about, because I sometimes feel incredibly trapped by the whole conceptual nightmare of throwing around these concepts and talking about enlightenment, awakening, as if they were real and known entities. I have to admit, for instance, that sometimes I think back if that Satori experience I had 17, 18 years ago, was that truly an awakening? Was that really I thought at the time that it was a Satori experience. Now that I think back on it, I have my doubts. And if it was such an awakening, why is it that I'm so often thrown right back into the same personal dynamics and the same neurosis and difficulties that I've been struggling with for all these years? It's not as if I have arrived to a different place than where you all are. I think. Sometimes I go out there, I'm just getting ready to go out there on stage and sit there in front of these huge groups of people, and the pressure to come up with something brilliant, to say something really wise and profound. I'm overwhelmed sometimes with the pressure inside me, the attention from all these people that somehow want me to give them the answers, but understand I can't give you any answers. It's hard to go out there over and over and over again. I have to come up with something brilliant to say.